Well, good evening, good evening, and welcome to those joining me on YouTube, those joining me on Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok and YouTube primarily. Feel free to like, feel free to share, and feel free to join in with the discussion. Should be very grateful as well. And as you know, tonight is Talking Sip. So with Talking Sip, we, gotta find a drink to drink. I've got to be also careful with what I say when I mention the word DRINK. When I mention the word DRINK, TikTok set up as me doing something which creates a level of restriction. And I don't understand what the restriction is. We're all adults here. So I'll have some sparkling water. Yeah. And Celestino, sparkling water. And I have a little dash of Merlot, USA. I gotta be careful with TikTok. TikTok might come and say, encouraging certain antics or so. But no, I'm not actually. It'd be great for you to tell me like what you are drinking. Some people like to say they're having tea. When Jamaica might be say they're having coconut water. So maybe having some special concoction or whatever like that. Talking Sip emanated from during the course of the lockdown period. And during the lockdown period, people came together and just having this conversation. Took it a bit from out of the studio and dealt with it directly. One of the things that I was like walking in the park, like even today, and one of the interesting thing about walking in the park is that you get to meet different persons. You get to meet different persons that you would not normally meet. And always ask the question like, who are these persons? Who are these persons that one meets every day? Who are these persons that you say hi to and you talk to? Heal. Yes. Who are these persons? And I find it very interesting that people are very interested individuals. People have dreams, visions, passions, things that they have inside of them that you'll never know. But if you ask them certain questions and you ask them about who they are, you see their eyes light up and they bright up because it's like, wow, someone has shown somewhat an interest in them. And I find that when you show an interest in people, they do get excited about the whole process. They do get excited that you have an interest in them. And always say that the person who knows themselves, they become unstoppable. But also, you'll be surprised that persons really want to share, really want to share what is in them, what they have, what they're about as well, if you give them an opportunity to do. And that's what I like to do as well. But hey, then what are you drinking? Well, I gotta be careful with TikTok. TikTok tends to be a bit very funny. So that's some water and a little dash of red wine. That wine tastes nice actually. Tastes really good. But listen, I want to say that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Jamaica, UK time, 8 p.m. UK time, I'll be having Tommy Gore, yeah. Senna and Gore, historic names in Jamaica. um, son, Tommy, is going to be on tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about Jamaica's Adac GT4 racer and how Tommy Gore has moved on. That's going to be 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I'm going to have Doug. Doug is going to come on as well. Is that? They're going to come on tomorrow night, which is really going to be an interesting discussion. This was for an hour or so. And then I'll get Mr. Senna at some point to also come on as well and to talk about their developments. These guys were running together as a team, and they split. And very interesting, you will find that maybe one day they may be competing against each other internationally, just like how their dad were. The Senna and Gore racers in Jamaica. So that's a very interesting one. So that's going to be tomorrow night. I also want to say as well that I do have these different discussions which are happening in regards to civics. I try to use the time with quality, use the time that I have online with quality, because these days you do not have enough time. So what you try to do is use those time with quality. And so I've embarked on the civics program, what I've been talking about for some time. So if you have missed it so far, there are 3 sessions which I've had so far. Let me turn on this music because this is very interesting. Let me stop that. 3 sessions so far on civics. Yep. The first one was with Miss Joanne Simpson. There she is. And she wrote the book, New Vision Civics. So she did an overview and set the stage in regards to civics. Civics is something which is important. Understanding, the title of it is Civicus, understanding the relationship with politics and human beings, not human beings, but citizenship as well. And so that was her show, which was on the 22nd of March, that discussion. It is on the YouTube channel. Go on to the YouTube channel, which is Silburn TV, and share it. It's very educational for persons who want to understand what civics is about. And if you're saying civics is out of the school, well, you can share it to persons and you can bring it to the people, because the people are the ones which will be in the school. So yes, you can share it to the people as well. And then the second one was with Mr. Matunda McCullough, former acting public defender in Jamaica. Civics and citizenship. Civics and citizenship. That was that session, which was very interesting and very powerful as much as possible. So what you need to do is to listen. It's on Spotify and it's on YouTube as well. So you can watch it and listen, or you can just listen. Put it in the background and listen. And that's on Silburn TV. It's also on Spotify, Amazon, RSS.com as well, and you can listen to it. And last week, I had Miss Professor Rosalie Hamilton. Professor Rosalie Hamilton came on and she did a discussion on a theory Jamaica, the role of the Constitution, episode 3. And that is also on Spotify. That is also on YouTube, Silburn TV. Share it, look for it, tell person about it. It's a tool. What I'm doing is giving the tool in your hands. Giving the tool in your hands, because people keep saying civics is not in school. So from the UK here, what I'm doing is giving it back to Jamaica and getting persons from Jamaica to lecture on it, to give a lecture on it. I'll be then having Miss on the when is it? Yes, it's going to be next week Sunday. Not going to be Saturday. It's going to be next week Sunday. On the 4th of May, I'll be having Miss Jeanette Calder. Jeanette Calder from Jamaica, the measuring portal that measures things and the accountability and check up on your parliamentarians. She's going to be discussing that portion of it, and it's going to be a lecture again. You can check out on it. You can tune in live, or you can watch it in the replay, but it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook. As a matter of fact, they're on Facebook, and it's going to be also on Spotify and RSS.com, Amazon audio version, where you can actually get the information and you can listen to it. And the most important thing you do is to share it to persons. Share, share, share. information. This is not about sus. This is about man and business and stuff like that. This is not about political left and right and green and orange and also. This is about education. Education, education, education. Hi, Michael Mason. Education. It is education, and I cannot emphasize it anymore. Education. Please share as much as possible. It is very important because the whole area of TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and all those sort of things are there for a purpose. We can abuse it or we can use it. As a matter of fact, my Facebook just came back this morning. I had a massive, big Facebook account, which was the initial Facebook account which I started with. And I tell you what, somehow they believe that it was being compromised. And I was glad that they took it down because the last thing I'd want is for someone to call me and say, "Are you going out there begging money or something like that?" Because people get hacked. And they believe I was hacked. They believe it was compromised or so. And anyhow, they shut it down. I check a few people and they said they haven't seen it. So therefore, the good thing about it is that it wasn't taken over by anyone. But the funny thing about it, and I just want to look at education bit for persons who may be, hi Paul, how are you? For persons who may be having an issue whereby their phone have been hacked, well, if your phone being hacked with WhatsApp, well, one thing you should do if you're on WhatsApp and you get something about passing some code or you get a message saying, "Oh, we're in a meeting, I want you to join," or whatever like that, I'm going to send you a code or something like that. Do not give anybody any code. Hey, Claudine, how are you? Do not give anybody any code or anything like that. Shut it down, because people are there wanting to steal your identity. And the interesting thing about Facebook, when I was trying to get it back, it's like I had a friend who was in Facebook years ago, and he combined a couple of accounts, and I couldn't find him for the Pete's sake. I mean, maybe he has moved on already or whatever like that. But I tried. They say you can actually put in the email addresses that you used to, put in a code. The code came, put it in. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And this was from April the 6th. This was from April the 6th, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. But I reserve myself to accepting that it's gone because I was watching a guy on YouTube, because you can watch these different channels that say what to do if your Facebook is being hacked, what to do if you're locked out, what to do if you can't get back. But the first thing the guys put there, let me just say this first of all. This is what he said. First and foremost, resolve within your mindset that you may never get it back. Yeah. And he went through different steps and blah, blah, blah. And he said, chances are you may never get it back. So I just gave up on it. I just gave up on it and said, listen, at the end of the day, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and all these different things, they do not belong to us. It is someone else's idea. Someone else's idea. And unfortunately, what we have done, we have built a momentum, we have built a monument, we have built a movement around other ideas of other persons. And it's so important that someone said we create it for ourselves, but really and truly, if you say you create it for yourself or create our own, then our own is still going to be owned by someone still at the same time, not by the mass. It's going to be owned by someone else. So it's a black owned or whatever like that. It's still going to be owned by someone else who's still going to have the right to shut you down. So the most important thing to do is to try to retain or save your contents. Yeah. Try to retain and save your contents. Create a website, download it because the facility is there to download it. Because right now, I believe on Facebook, Facebook is actually saying 30 days. Normally, when I go in the park and I do lots of videos, 4 or 5 days a week, I do live streaming go on TikTok, Facebook, TikTok on Facebook, and Instagram. But Facebook came up and say 30 days time, your video is going to be deleted. And I keep getting these reminders to say your Facebook, this video is going to be deleted at this particular day. Download it. So you can download it, and then you can actually save it or put it on YouTube if you believe it is important. Now, because I do so many videos every other day and every other night or so in the park, I don't need to save them. There's no need to really save them because it will be too much. definitely too much. But always just resolve yourself within your mindset that these things do not belong to you. It belongs to the big guys, and so yeah, and that is something which is so very interesting, and also there's another thing as well. Oh, look at this! Look at this! This is beautiful. I took this picture there. That's I took that picture in all truth. That is my personal picture. Boom! I took that picture there. Yep, me take them picture there in a star. But I didn't take this one. This is altruist. I didn't take that one. But we were talking about it last week, but we didn't get to show it with Miss Rosalie Hamilton talking about Jamaica, and she says, "Show like dream of Jamaica, dream of your Jamaica." That was one of the things that came up during that discussion, talking about um, civics and the Constitution, trying to see and try to home into the fact that you own Jamaica. Yeah. Now, Nathaniel Pete, my good mate, has mentioned this thing called Rhythm of Hope. Rhythm of Hope concert, 15th of June, 2025. That's almost a month from now. 15th of June, well, not much a month from now, but we're still in April. But 15th of June, 2025, Rhythm of Hope, Food for the Poor. Save the date, and it's going to be a fundraising concert from the Global Jamaica Diaspora South Friends. So that is going to be a very interesting concert. So we're going to hear more about that. I'll do some more interviews with Food for the Poor and different persons. I also had a chat also with Miss Michael Jackson from Justice for Jamaica. And it's very important because what is happening is there's this sort of, you sense there's like a standoffish between the police and Justice for Jamaica, like when the police are, they're clamping down on criminals. The prime minister said it from the top. You can either meet your maker, or you can meet the judge. Don't engage with the police, because you will not win. And a lot of people have been saying for years the criminals have been getting out of hand, but what they're seeing is a reduction as much as possible when it comes on to crime in Jamaica. So one must say that's a plus. But I want to hear from Miss Jackson, and I'm planning to have a discussion with her at some point in a few weeks from now, whereby to set the record straight. Because I believe in always hearing the different sides of the different stories. And that's setting the stage for Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you have a drink. Tell me what you're drinking. Black Queen. There we are. This tastes very nice. I don't know. This Merlot tastes very nice tonight. Yeah. I want to talk about, has Jamaican lost their fire and their drive? Yeah. I want to talk about that. Has Jamaica lost their fire and their drive? I'll be back. Many years ago, Jamaica was the key country that South Africa can rely on when it comes on to issues of injustice and fighting apartheid. Jamaica was a key player alongside with Fidel Castro. The fire was in the belly of individuals. It's like in the UK, it says something like the mojo has gone, in the sense of the British bulldog spirit is gone, whereby people just take it, roll over, 9-day wonder, and that's the end of it, which is very unfortunate at this time. So many years ago, Jamaica was a strong voice against injustice internationally. Jamaica, and I set the stage, and please share this, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important. Jamaica has a notable history as a strong international voice against injustice, especially during the mid 20th century and the early decades following its independence in 1962. And I qualify that word independence because I always qualify when they say independence in 1962. You cannot be independent and swear allegiance to a foreign power, swear allegiance to king. I say following the process. This is how I will change it. Following the process, the starting of independence in 1962. Hi, Douglas fan. Its leadership in global human rights and anti-apartheid efforts stand out as particularly significant. I like for those who are on Instagram to share, those on Facebook to share, those on YouTube to share, those on different platforms to share, and let the world know about these sort of discussions. I think these discussions are so very important. Where are we going? Where are we coming from? Very, very important. Very, very important. Jamaica early leadership in international justice. Anti-apartheid sanction in 1959. Jamaica became the first country to introduce sanctions against South Africa in response to its apartheid regime, setting a precedent for international action against racial injustice. Mark you, at the same time, 1959, Jamaica was really Jamaica. Jamaica was really British, so it was really the British in a sense, you know. The move predated the widespread adoption of sanctions by Western European nations in the 1980s, highlighting Jamaica's pioneering stance. And I still have to just qualify that at the same time, because in 1959, the black race never had really a voice, a strong voice at that time. It was by the governors, and persons of such nature. Same guy in Toronto, are you? Lost their fire and drive. I heard quite a few Jamaicans say that they love it. America was to take it over. Think about that. I keep hearing that sometimes. As a matter of fact, same guy in Toronto. Sorry, some guy in Toronto. What's your name? Anyway, some guy in Toronto. I've also heard another one that people are saying, let's go back to the king. Let's go back to the monarch. Let's fully get back into it. We've been better. Yeah, so people are saying that. And yes, I believe what you're saying as well, that people are saying America should take over, because that would somewhat cut down the lines of persons trying to go to America. And all they got to do is just take the plane, because all it become a colony. 51st or 52nd state of America. That is after Canada. Oh, wow. Did I say Canada? As a matter of fact, in Canada, I thought I heard something very interesting in Canada. I understand that the Mark Carney may actually lose. There's another person which is rising up that could be the power force there. So I think calling that election may have been a gamble, but we watch your space and see. And I understand it may be a conservative person. Yeah. So we're back again to the bit about the move predated the widespread adoption of sanctions by Western European nations in the 1980s, highlighting Jamaica's pioneering stance. Okay, moved on there. United Nations diplomacy. Upon joining the United Nations in 1962, Jamaica immediately prioritized human rights in its foreign policy. By 1964, it was recognized as a leader in the international human rights field, likely becoming the first country to formally integrate human rights into its official foreign policy strategy. Jamaica's diplomatic efforts helped lay the groundwork for global human rights revolution of the 1970s. I'm going somewhere with this. So I'm talking about the level of independence. I'm talking about the fire in the belly. I'm talking about wanting to see injustice stamped out of the world and wanting to actually play a voice on the international scene. We haven't talked about domestic yet. Broader human rights advocacy. Jamaica's international advocacy extended beyond South Africa, addressing issues such as racial discrimination in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, and championing wider global human rights principles. Its approach emphasized the development of a legal order centered on human rights, peacekeeping, collective security through the United Nations. Right? So when you hear sometimes like persons who are supposed to be at the UN and they miss that meeting or so like that, that's not what Jamaica normally is or was about. Jamaica was a very firm voice on the international scene. Influential movements and figures. And this is one is very important. Marcus Garvey and Pan-Africanism. Jamaica-born Marcus Garvey was a foundational figure in the global Black civil rights movement. A Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, and philosophy of Black nationalism and Pan-Africanism inspired not only Jamaicans, but people of African descent worldwide to challenge oppression and seek dignity. Very important. So with the whole aspect of Abraham Taru, Booker, I keep pronouncing his name incorrectly, from Burkina Faso, and what has happened recently with the foil coup and the American general who is being used somewhat get at him. The whole essence of Marcus Garvey, the whole essence of self-reliance, the whole essence of who we are hasn't filtered in because people are being played by their puppet masters. Jamaica's civil rights narrative includes resistance to colonial rule. So therefore, I believe if Marcus Garvey was around and Marcus Garvey teaching was on, people of Black ancestry, Jamaicans, wouldn't be accepting things like OBE, CBE, MBE, and all those sort of things from the King of England. Because it says empire. Right? Because the civil rights narrative includes resistance to colonial rule. Anything that resembles colonial rule, the last bastion of slavery, last relics of slavery. And I call that a part of the Commonwealth. I call the Commonwealth as the last bastion, the last relic of the colonialism. Trying to keep something together, trying to have a semblance of the past, to give it some sort of stature, give it some sort of relevance. What do you think? Let me know. What do you think? What do you think about that? Jamaica's civil rights narrative includes resistance to the colonial rule, exemplified by figures like Nanny of the Maroons and the Morant Bay Rebellion, led by Paul Bogle and George William Gordon. In the post-independence era, political parties such as the People's National Party, PNP, and the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, played roles in shaping civil rights and political advocacy. By the way, the name is Mark Taylor, Baron of Clarendon. Okay. Baron. Yeah. And at least you're a Baron. Yeah. I hope the Baron didn't come from the King of England. Or Baron is a landowner, Mr. Taylor, isn't it? That's a good one. Yeah. You have lots of lands there, acres, if anything. Yeah. So what? So the key and most important thing is that the existence of the Labour Party, the existence of the PNP party in many years ago, they shaped and they formulate what Jamaica is now. Legacy. and ongoing advocacy. Modern human rights work, Jamaica continues to host vibrant civil society organizations such as Jamaicans for Justice, which provides legal services, campaign for social justice, and influence national policy on human rights issues. What do you think about that? I don't think the prime minister maybe is happy. I don't think the governor general will be happy to hear that Jamaicans for Justice is a part of civil society organizations which provide legal services, campaigns for social justice, and influence national policy on human rights issues. It's very important. Fire in the belly, fire in the hole, because someone can be, listen, justice is there. Justice must be seen to be served, not just be, it must seem to be. International recognition, Jamaica's early and sustained advocacy for human rights and against injustice had a lasting impact, influencing the evolution of international law and inspiring activism both regionally and globally. So, in summary, Jamaica's strong voice against injustice, particularly through its early stance against apartheid, leadership at United Nations, and the influence of its civil rights movements and leaders, have left a profound mark on international efforts to promote human rights and combat racial discrimination. Now, I use that and I set the stage with that as a base, where it talks about a country whereby there's a fire in the belly that hate injustice, that want to see wrongs right, and willing to go the extra mile. The question to be asked now for today, the today Jamaica and the today Jamaicans, are they ones with a fire in the belly? Are Jamaicans today with a fire in the belly? Or is it waiting for it to blow over into 9 days? I believe the same passion and the same drive should be filtered down to individuals, but somehow one sense that the majority of persons are dumbed down. Now, this is not just for Jamaica that the people are dumbed down. I think the people are dumbed down in many parts of the world, because what dumbs people down a lot is the fact that because they have to be surviving, not living, surviving, working one job, late hours, working 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, they do not have that fire. They're burnt out. But can I tell you this? Years ago, when you had people incarcerated in slavery, the move which was made by freedom leaders, persons who are on the front line, and they're mobilized, mark you, these people never had it as good as today. No, all four parents never had it as how it is today. Never had it so good, but yet they were mobilized. So when I hear sometimes that the people will not come out and the people will not stand up on certain issues because their focus is not on things which are very important, like when it come on to integrity, when it come on to politicians messing around, they say just leave it to the politicians. I just want to go to work, make money, send my children to school, pay my bills, and just have an easy life. Now, the politicians or person wouldn't mind that the majority of people do that, and so caught up in doing that for the 4 or 5 years while they're in government, because there's no fire in the belly. The cares of this world has been like a hose that sprays it, spray out the fire, spray out the drive, and they just want to be surviving, not living, surviving. There's a big difference between living and surviving. Surviving is when you're trying to hold on to something. You're drowning. You're just trying to survive. Living is when you're flourishing. And and as far as I'm concerned, I get the impression, and I could be wrong, that politicians are not really interested in people living. It is more in people surviving. Surviving, they will not have the time to hold government bodies accountable. They will not have the time to question, to scrutinize, to lobby politicians, elected leaders that they've elected, because there's no drive, there's no fire, there's nothing which is there. And it begs me to always bring this up because I find it very, very, very interesting. I find this very interesting that to this day, you have a prime minister of Jamaica whose statutory declaration has not been certified. Can you believe that? And somehow things are going on as normal, waiting for an election. And it shouldn't be at the whims of a prime minister to determine and to decide when an election should be. Because one would always want to call an election when it is in your favor, when you see it is in your favor. So that's a bit unfair, isn't it? You should have an open field, and that open field where you have the set rules. So therefore, when you flip the coin and heads or tail, then you see which one of the footballers. So the crowd of witnesses, or the cloud of witnesses, all the football, everyone is up there in the auditorium looking down on the field. Looking down on the field, and they can see the players, and they can see that it is fair. But with how things are now, it is not fair. And that is why I'm an advocate for Jamaica at this time to have a set date for calling elections. So therefore, it is not going to be at the whims and the fancy of a political leader, of a prime minister, because I believe any subsequent prime ministers would want to do that. I believe Mr. Golding would do that as well. If he becomes prime minister, he will want to call election at this time. But if it is within the constitution, if it is set within the laws that you have to, this is the date for elections, so people can plan around it. But there's no fire in the belly of the people. There's no fire. There's no drive, to get that done. There's no drive. I was watching something, and I've been looking at it. This little girl named Adriana Young. I think it's Adriana Young in Guyana. Let me see if I can get her name right. Adriana Young, and it's a very sad case. But why it is so sad is because, and I don't know, I've not been following Guyana, but this one has just been out there, and it is in your face. This one is in your face. What's her name? Yes, it is here. Adriana Young. What is happening there in Guyana is that this little girl, they said she was found in a pool, drowned, but they're actually saying that she was killed. And then burned down the hotel. They burned down the place where it alleged the incident happened. Now, one is wondering if that was a good move or not, because investigations are so evidence will be lost if she was killed inside or whatever like that. But they burned down the place. Fire in the people. People didn't want to wait for a 9-day wonder. They want answers. They want solutions right away. So they reacted. Now, I'm not going to advocate that something like that should happen in jail. But the people have to take a stand when they see injustice. If the powers that be do not take a stand in that way. And in Jamaica, there have been cases of children, being killed, children can't be found. The sort of semi-blind young lady from University of the West Indies, she can't be found up to this day. I think they're saying that there are some places in Jamaica whereby they just throw bodies or so down those places and nothing comes. There's no fire in the belly of person to demand a solution, to demand a response, to demand certain things, to demand that all politicians sign a code of conduct. There's no fire for the people to demand and say that you must. If you don't, we're coming for you. We're going to vote you out. We're going to recall you. Because in the constitution reform, which is being taking place now, the people are left behind. People are left behind. But there's no fire. There's no drive by the people to demand to be not left behind. Because they can't bother. I know people who say, I can't be bothered getting involved in this election. Two of them don't make a difference. The same thing. But guess what? If you allow the politicians to have their own way, then they'll never suffer. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. There's got to be a fire. There's got to be something that burns, a passion that burns that says, no way, Jose. That shouldn't be. That all politicians in Jamaica should be signing the code of conduct, should be signing up to the 7 principles of the code of conduct. Honesty, selflessness, integrity, accountability, transparency, leadership, all these different factors. But no, they're not, because they said they already did that when they got sworn in. None by the present government parties. There's no fire in the belly of the people that will demand a change. Police are going about doing their jobs. Police are going about getting rid of criminals. But there was the issue about the body cam cameras. Eliminating individual. But really and truly, there has to be some level of accountability. But there's no fire in the belly of the people to demand changes and to demand an answer and to demand solution, because everyone has been damped down, watered down, and as my colleague says, the society has been infected by the disease of consumerism. The carriers being digital media, self-enrichment, reigns over ethics, fast money reigns over diligence, KFC reigns over Sunday dinner. Brethren, we can say it again. I was in Jamaica in April last year. KFC is king. I would say KFC is king in Jamaica. I go to my well-being person and discuss about the food to eat, because when you have sort of sugar and pre-diabetic, you're sort of thinking about some of the best ways to eat, and you realize that we eat these fast food things so easily, killing ourselves off. Well, all you got to do is take some time, and it works even cheaper to cook properly, spend some time. When my Facebook was gone recently, I just chilled. I didn't work up myself. I just chilled. I became very patient. and just say whether it comes back or not. Every other day I check it, try the thing, nothing. Left it. Just chill. Be not anxious for things. And waboom, it came. Just like that. You see, the one of the things about, and one of the reasons why it's like a slow burner, this whole civics thing. Civics thing is a slow burner, right? It is not something which is going to be attracting a lot of people to sit down for 1 hour and listen. But yet at the same time, you hear people talking about, oh, they take civics out of the school. But you're not seeing the move towards understanding and to be educated. Because as you educate, it's like you're building building bricks. You're building walls of sustenance. You're building walls of confidence. You're building walls of knowledge. And therefore, you're able to stand your ground. You're able to understand the laws. You're able to understand the principles. When somebody will go out there and tell you what are the laws for stop and search, what are the laws when it comes on to going into your mobile phone and try to get information, like I heard about a little boy, 12 years of age, whereby the police lock him up because he couldn't remember his password to get into his phone and so like that. And they were comparing it with, I think, a lady or so who didn't give over her phone when the child died and nothing happened to her. They take the time because, of course, but then it was pointed out that the way how she operated and how it was done with her, it's a correct and a legal way to do it. I mean, I know in cases I've had in my situation whereby you want to find out information about certain things, and you can get information straight from EE. Get a court order, you get it straight from the O2. There's a company which also can go into phones and get out information. There are legal ways how to do it. But the fire, the drive, the knife in people to really go for it and to actually demand it and actually say, until I die, literally, figuratively, I won't relent until I die, figuratively, literally. It will not be or not end in 9 days. It will not be and not end in 9 days. Have Jamaicans lost their fire and drive? And this is not just for Jamaica. A lot of countries that is happening to. They feel dampened down. They feel like the power that they should have is lacking. The power that they should have been sapped. They feel burnt out, drained, because the political powers. It's happening in America. Oh, yes. It's happening in America. It's happening in the UK as well, where people feel like they can't, they can't, So that is something which is so very important that persons need to really lay hold of and take hold of today. This whole essence of the drive. But I can go further. Because Jamaica didn't just have it in the past. Jamaica is still having it today. Is Jamaica now a silent voice against justice, internationally and domestic? No. I can see different persons. Jamaica is not a silent voice against injustice, either internationally or domestically. While its global profile may not be as prominent as during its pioneering anti-apartheid days, Jamaica continues to engage actively in both international advocacy and domestic human rights effort. Now that sounds very good, isn't it? That sounds very fantastic. Climate justice. Jamaica remain vocal on the world stage, particularly regarding climate change and its impact on small island developing states. Migrant workers and human trafficking. Jamaica has introduced key policy initiatives to protect the rights of migrant workers combat human trafficking, and ensure fair treatment of vulnerable populations. Civil society action organizations, they keep saying organizations like Justice for Jamaica, but you have Advocates Network, you have national integrity in action, you know, commitment to human rights, marking occasions like International Human Rights Day, public statements, you know, projects in partnership with international donors, like the EU focusing on empowering citizens, especially youth and vulnerable groups, to understand and claim their rights. Now that's all good, but you wonder if it's really filtering down. So all hands on deck, bloggers and everyone need to and must come together and use their platform, artists alike, and to, because since everyone is being driven and driven and enticed and go for lions and all those sort of things on TikTok, on Facebook, and YouTube, now is the opportune time to seize the moment and to seize the day. Ongoing challenge. Despite progress, systematic issues remain such as gender inequality, wage gaps, gender-based violence. NGOs continue to call for accelerated action to address these barriers, emphasizing that the fight for injustice and equality is ongoing. The fight for justice and equality is ongoing. Yes, definitely, without a doubt. But one of the things is that it must be seen to be filtered down, must be seen to be filtered down to the people, and must be cascaded down from the top and from the bottom upwards. Right? And never should there be in Jamaica, never should there be whereby MPs can go about doing things, can be found guilty of things. Don't be like a Trump factor, follow the Trump, and still being a member of parliament. There shouldn't be a situation whereby for years, prime ministers, or whatever have failed to have their statutory declaration certified and still they're in power and still they're in office. That shouldn't be. And that can only be change when the fire in the belly of the people light up and spread like an ember, a flame, and a drive that will mobilize people, mobilize individuals to not accept a 1-day wonder, 2-day wonder, 3-day wonder, but until I die. Yeah? There's got to be a massive change, a big and fundamental change when it comes to wanting the best. And therefore, there's got to be this education, there's got to be this drive, this sense of identity, this sense of Marcus Garvey spirit, Marcus Garvey drive, the bit of self-reliance. These teachings, a lot of these teachings of Marcus Garvey is all over the place. You know, it doesn't say Garvey, but when you talk about self-reliance, you talk about understanding yourself. When you talk about wanting to remove a foreign power as your head of state, people will say, well, how will removing the King of England feed my belly and feed my pit to them? How will it be? How will it? And I say, you'll be very surprised that the mind, once the mind is free, there's so much things that can happen as a result of the freedom of the mind. They say, what you perceive, you conceive. What you perceive, you conceive. That is so powerful. What you perceive, you conceive, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So in closing, and I just wanted to really share this today, is that people of Jamaica, Jamaicans, people of the UK as well, one thing you've got to do as much as possible is not to just take things lying down. I don't mean to say you get up and you fight, but you educate yourself. Many different ways you can skin a cat. Many different ways. Many powerful ways you can skin a cat. and many different ways one can engage in the political process of today, strategically, powerfully, you know. And it's time, and I'll use my voice, I'll use my platform to somehow to keep empowering, empowering, empowering. And don't forget, and remember, tune in to the series on civics. You'll be very inspired. You'll be very enlightened. You'll be very empowered when you hear the different speakers. You hear from Ms. Joan Simpson, when you hear from Professor Rosalie Hamilton, when you hear from Matunda McCullough, when you hear from Ms. Jeanette Calder, when you hear at some point soon from Mr. Simon Woolley. You're going to hear sometime soon from even Mr. Stephen Golding. I'm going to get Mr. Stephen Golding to go on. Come on, this. When you're going to hear from Miss Michael Jackson, right? Talking about the power of civics, the power of understanding, and all these sort of things. Yeah. Jamaica's lost his platform internationally. And voice, we had Michael Manley, Edward Seagull. Well, I'm not going to say what under my mouth because I'm not. No, no. What under me? Sorry. What under my nose? No, you're right. You're right in a way. You're right in a way. Because when I look on the international scene and I see the Spice Factor and I see the Carter Factor and I say, is this what Jamaica is about, really? You know, I mean, music is great, and you know, you gotta enjoy music and enjoy a good time. But you sometimes you wonder, is this what is this what is this what Jamaica is about? You know, and you know, I just watch your space and just try to. I was gonna stay in my small corner and yours in and yours. But I'll read it again. Jamaica lost their platform and voice internationally. We had Michael Manley, Edward Seager, Bob Marley, and Usain Bolt. Now, the most known Jamaican is an artist named Carter. And you know, you got a person like Mia Motley, which is going around and she's speaking and she need that sort of support as much as possible. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister of Jamaica is not that very strong on the international scene. He's seen more as a lackey, um, in a way. And Jamaica, coming from a heritage which it has through Michael Manley, um, you know, we have to feed the people fundamentally, you know, the people, and you know, speak with that gravitas. We don't have it, but guess what? A lot of Jamaicans do have it as well. So we don't have to wait for a prime minister to lead that way. Sometimes we're going to flag the dog, wag the tail, let the tail wag the dog. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining me on Talk and Sip Saturday night. And I pray and I trust that you um, was inspired by this discussion. And make sure you don't lose your voice, don't lose your fire, don't lose your drive as much as possible, because that is so very important. And one thing also that I wanted to, I'm going to have to have a discussion at some point with some third parties, persons who are vying to run for office, who are not PNP, not JLP. I'm going to try to get UIC and different other groups to come on and to have a discussion as to how are they. Well, they're not going to maybe tell us their trade secret or whatever like that, but how are they faring at this time now? This very serious season. I call the season the very serious season, not a silly season, a very serious season, which we're in now. So I'm planning to have a discussion on that at some point. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, and all the best to Pope John Paul, who had his funeral today as well. It was great to see Donald Trump there and Donald Trump meeting up with Zelensky, and they have a chair there and have a discussion. I don't know if it was the right environment. It was the Pope, the Pope Day, the late, the late, the late Pope Day. Let me see if I can get this here. Oh, what's this here? It's not going in. Yeah, gang deposit. Yeah. It was a Pope's Day. So Mr. Trump didn't steal the thunder, you know. So ladies and gentlemen, have a great night, and remember, definitely, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I'll be having Mr. Uh, Doug, not Doug Gore. Well, Doug is going to come on as well. The father. We're going to have Tommy Gore on tomorrow night. Tommy Gore is going to be talking. Moving on, um, Jamaica Adak GT4 Racer. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Gore moving on. Jamaica Adak G24 Racer tomorrow night at 8 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. German time, 3 p.m. Jamaica time. Let's talk about where is he moving on to, and the achievements as Jamaica, of course. The races take it to a next level. That is really powerful. So you need to tune in, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Yeah, and you know what? I've got a few videos of some guys that I interviewed at the Jamaica High Commission. I should have had it out long time, but I believe even it is one of those um interviews which are not time sensitive based on the what they're about, the business, their pitch, and the brief interview I had with them. It is not time sensitive and it's going to be powerful. It is about Jamaicans also simply making waves internationally. Jamaicans making wave internationally. 4 gentlemen and a lady at the Jamaica High Commission right here in the UK, linking up with Jam Pro and all those sort of things. Very, 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 very powerful. You must tune in. Took me a while to get it going, but I'm going to get it released soon. You need to tune in on that. Okay? So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being a good sport. Mr. Mark Taylor, all the best. And everyone else, Mason, Sabrina, Jamin Products. Yeah, take care. That's awesome. And of course, before I go, let's show you some bit of lovely Jamaica there. Dream of Jamaica. Dream of Jamaica there. Dream of Jamaica there. Dream of Jamaica there. Dream of Jamaica there. There we are. And that's awesome. And I took some of those pictures. Let me see. Yeah, I took these pictures here. I took a picture there. That's Mystic Mountain. Mystic Mountain. I took a picture there at Orcharius, my hometown. That's Little Ochi. Took that picture right there. That's my picture. And that's White River there. That's awesome. 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 And awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. Peace out and have a good night. Thank you. Bye.